So King George III and Parliament, in order to punish Massachusetts and to really exert their control over the colonies as a whole, decided to pass the Coercive Acts, or what was known here in the colonies as the Intolerable Acts. So they are officially called the Coercive Acts, and that's what they were known as in Britain. Here in the colonies, they became known as the Intolerable Acts. And there's really 5 parts to these acts. The first, that was known as the Boston Port Bill, right? This officially closed Boston Harbor until Massachusetts was able to pay for the ruined tea. So there were no ships coming in or out of Boston. It pretty much closed off trade to Massachusetts. The Massachusetts Government Act canceled the Massachusetts Charter, meaning that they were no longer able to kind of govern themselves. The town meetings that were so important in the New England colonies, where they would come together to discuss and make laws, were pretty much banned. They were only able to meet when the governor gave them permission, and a new governor was appointed, who was General Thomas Gage, that was appointed by the king. The third act was the Administration of Justice Act, and this meant that any royal official, any British official in the colonies that was accused of any crime would not be tried in the colonies, but would actually be sent back home to Britain, and that's where they would stand trial. And so, of course, for the colonists, this didn't seem fair because they felt that if they went back to Britain, then they would go easier on them and they wouldn't really receive a fair trial because it would be going their way. And so those British officials that would then be getting away with whatever crime they might have been accused of. The fourth act is the Quartering Act, right? And this meant that colonists were forced to feed and house those British soldiers that were now here in the colonies. And last is the Quebec Act, in which land, especially land around the Ohio River Valley, that the colonists believed was theirs, was now given to the colony of Quebec. And so these were the 5 parts to those Intolerable Acts. And as Britain had intended to actually use these acts to control the colonies and kind of whip Massachusetts back into shape, it actually exerted the opposite effect, because from these Intolerable Acts, all it did was fuel the fire to anger the colonists even more and to start to take action. And of course, eventually leading us to the Revolution.